There are moments in your life where you stop and look and go, how did I get here? Today is one of those moments for me. As the Chief Minister was talking and sharing his connection and that stuff, I'm like, that is pretty cool. And I'll share you why that the Chief Minister is here as a patron for Culture Break and is giving words of affirmation for the things that we have done over the past couple of decades. My mind goes back to the year 1995. You remember, some of you, most of you should be old enough to remember where you were, what you were doing in 1995. That's when Macarena was, everyone was dancing the Macarena, with everyone glued to their TV screen, laughing at the Seinfeld episodes and crying at ER. It was also that year where a skinny kid, often described as a paddle pop stick kid, was lying flat on a bench, staring at a steel bar. And honestly, at that time, the biggest problem was not the weights that were only 5 kilos, that were the big ones, and put the big black 5 kilos to make you look like you're doing a lot of weights when really it's really light. The heaviest thing that was pressing on me was my identity. Growing up as a young African Australian in this country, as Michael alluded to in Geelong, my sense of worth was not shaped by my voice, but the colour of my skin. I remember deliberately missing the bus at school because I was afraid of people teasing me or rejecting me. There were times when the bus would be so full, everyone's hanging on the bars and stuff, and all the seats were taken, and I was at the front, or close to it. And all the seats were taken, and no one would sit next to me. Reason? I was black. And that rejection carved deep in me. It told me I was not valued. You don't belong. It led to low self-worth, and it pulled me towards a life of crime. In those years, I would often ask myself, would my life be worth anything? I'd come home sometime from school and would wish that I'd say to Mum, can I scrub my skin off so I could become invisible and be like everybody else? But a switch came for me when my parents moved me back. I was born in Canberra, but lived in Geelong, and my parents moved back in the early 90s, in 1990 actually, back to Canberra and enrolled me in the school called St Edmund's College. Now, I was just looking down here and I realised there are actually two ex-Eddie's boys on the table. It's not planned. And then we've got some ex-Marist brothers here as well. So, I don't know whether anyone else who grew up in private school education in Canberra. But I got involved with something called the Rock Estafette. Miranda knows because she was around the school when I was there. So she remembers this very well. And for the first time in my life, I got up on stage and people were not looking down at me, but looking up to me. It was the first time I felt accepted. I felt free. As well as nothing can build a teenage confidence more than having hundreds of screaming girls screaming at you and throwing themselves like frisbees because you could dance. So back to 95. I'm lying on a bench with my noodle arms, shaking. My friend leans over to me, and this is a guy, he was a ex-400 metre runner from New Zealand, Kiwi, and he just missed out on that 1984 400 relay team for New Zealand. And so he was quite muscly and quite fit. He was also a church minister. And he would take me to gym because he said, I can't stand your skinniness. You're coming with me to the gym. So I got my noodle arms on this thing and on the weights, and as I said, the 5 kilos on that. And to me, because I was a young guy then, I think I was about 19 or so at that point, he'd sound to me like Arnie. He'd say things like, you bring the bar down slowly, and then you pick it up. And so I was bringing this bar down slowly and picking it up and shaking all over the place. But I did it over and again and again and again. But what I didn't realize is I was not only building strength, I was building confidence. And something also grew inside of me. Over the next 7 years, working with him and being mentored by him, I learned a lot about personal development. I learned a lot about resilience. But the one thing I learned most was this, that I didn't have to become someone. I was someone. I had something to give. Fast forward now to 2002. That lesson planted a seed. Right here in Canberra, I started Culture Break, a dance for well-being organisation carrying a message of hope. And I thought to myself, if dance can do this for me, maybe it can be just spark that can be for another young person. I had never imagined when I started at Lanyon High School with a bunch of kids who were disengaged. Lanyon back those days was the Nappy Valley back in the mid-90s, in the early 2000s, sorry. I never imagined 23 years later, over 100,000 young people in Canberra would have been involved in our programs and been empowered with a simple message: you don't become somebody, you are somebody. But even after all this transformation, there was one big challenge remained. Is how do we show leaders, government, and now Andrew's gone, he would have loved to look at him straight in the eye when I was saying this, corporates, community, the dance wasn't just fun. It was changing lives. Because often I'd find that when I go and tell people about dance, oh, you do dance, and you're changing lives, and it's just sort of this perplexed place, like, I know dances when I go to Mooseheads and have a few and I get courage to get on the dance floor. That's the dance I know. But changing lives, how? Well, the breakthrough came in 2021 when we partnered with Western Sydney University, the Dance for Life Research and Evaluation Report. They gave us the language and the evidence to prove what we already knew. And it led to the Resilience Through Movement framework, which is based on 4 C's that we identified as the bedrock for resilience. The first one is connection. I belong here. The second C is confidence. I am somebody. The third, continuous learning. I let everything grow me. And the last C, contribution. I bring value. It's a simple progression. Belong, believe, grow, give. And mixed with movement, that reputable, repeatable, and powerful combination where we know the evidence is out and clear that dance, movement, physical activity improves mood, social connections, mental health, and resilience. So I bring this all together. What is the significance of what I just shared with you? What has me with my noodle arms back in 95 got to do with where we are today? Well, I can share 2 things. One, this journey has led us to be able to lead to the Resilience Through Movement framework, which now we have a way to measure and communicate our impact with clarity. Secondly, it allowed me to look back over my life and see that the 4 C's were shaping me long before I had words for them. They built my resilience. That guy, Luke Worsfold, that was a Kiwi guy, fair-skinned, said to me and spoke to me and told me that I was somebody. That was the connection. The confidence happened through the physical movement and me getting to the point through the arts know that I was somebody. The continuous learning through all the mistakes and him walking with me and telling me that, give me permission to let that all my mistakes can grow me. And they still do. And the last is contribution. I was able to be part of a boy band for 10 years, traveling around the country on TV, singing and dancing and thinking I was going to be the latest, the next rock star that's going to knock off Boyz II Men and Backstreet Boys off their perch. Never happened. But what did happen was the birth of Culture Break. And that message that you don't become somebody else, you are somebody, has led to transformation that I could not believe. But it also led to contribution. So I believe connection, confidence, continuous learning, and contribution are the threads that knit our fabric of our society together. And I believe that if we're really serious about building a long-standing, long-lasting resilience and resilient people in our communities, in our workplaces, in our families, in our teams, then these 4 C's must be present as a foundation.
If this video inspired you, hit the like button. If you want more videos like this, subscribe, and thanks for watching.